Hey, Larken Rose here, doing a video about Trump's bump stock ban. And the first thing I want to say is that this video is not about Trump's bump stock ban. It's about something way more fundamental and way more important. But first, I have to mention some of the specifics of this example. For those who don't know, Trump unilaterally did a bump stock ban. And he didn't do that by legislation because the president can't do that by himself. He didn't have the help of Congress. He didn't have any legislation happen at all. What he did was instruct the DOJ lawyers to change the definition of machine gun to include a bump stock. All by itself, it's just a piece of plastic. Now, the details of what it technically is or how much you think it matters or whether you think it's just a gimmick, I don't give a crap about any of that. That's not the point. He told the lawyers to change the definition of machine gun to include a bump stock, which is a piece of plastic. It's a fairly simple thing. You can look it up if you want to know the details. A bump stock without a machine gun attached, without any gun attached. All by itself, a bump stock is a machine gun under federal law, or was until the Supreme Court just threw it out. So Trump told the DOJ lawyers, just change the definition. Because in the regulations, you have federal statutes and then you have regulations which interpret the statutes. So the DOJ lawyers can do all sorts of BS of what they're going to decide counts as a machine gun. And he, on his own, unilaterally told them, expand the definition of machine gun to include bump stocks. All by themselves. Now, I've talked before about the ridiculousness of legalese, and that there are things like a silencer by itself is a firearm for purposes of certain federal laws. It's really weird the way they use definitions. Well, this thing that has nothing to do with that, we're going to include that in the definition so that we can ban all that at once. And it just, legalese just becomes this ridiculous game. But anyway, the only one that matters in this case is he just told the lawyers, go in without any act of Congress, just change the definition of machine gun to include bump stocks. Now, the end result of that was that several 100,000 Americans were made into felons for things they legally purchased and legally owned before. In pretty much every other case, when there's actual legislation trying to ban something, which is all stupid and bogus anyway, it pretty much always has a grandfather clause, which means if you already had this, and this was true of the 94 assault weapons ban under Clinton, which wasn't actually a ban and had nothing to do with assault weapons. But if you owned one legally ahead of time, it had nothing to do with that. It had to do with the future manufacture of firearms with a certain number of aesthetic aspects to it. It was really stupid. I actually went up, that was when I bought an AR-15, was to have it before that kicked in, so I would have it. And then I had it, and it was still legal after that stupid ban because they grandfathered it in. They always do that. Because otherwise they have to say, there, we just made millions of you into criminals and now we can come, raid you and stuff. Trump's unilateral thing didn't have any legislation. It didn't have any law backing it up. It was just change the definition and make several 100,000 Americans into felons overnight. Time runs out, poof, suddenly you're a felon. For those of you who hadn't heard, the U.S. Supreme Court just threw that out as unconstitutional. I'm not even going to get into the details. I didn't even read the whole ruling about that because I don't care. What is noteworthy is that the three dissenting opinions in the Supreme Court ruling were the three biggest liberals who are we have to do something about gun violence, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's all I need about the legal specifics, because now I'm going to get to the point that matters. If you're a Trump fan, first of all, I know a lot of Trump fans who are yeah, I wasn't happy about him doing that. But look at all the great things. Okay, pause. Back up. Don't be a complete frickin' coward. Open your eyes enough and your brain enough to think for 10 seconds, why the hell did he do that? Was there some huge crime wave of people using bump stocks? No. Why did he do that? Of all the super important things that we have to get done to make America great again, why that? Why did he bother to do that and publicize it? Why did he push forward the federal gun control agenda of the left? Do you even wonder if he's like this conservative who's so against the deep state and the corrupt political left? Why did he unilaterally do something that completely fits with their agenda and completely violates the Second Amendment? Now, you can make lame excuses about how, well, it's only a bump stock, so people don't really need that. Okay, that's you making excuses. It's still a violation of the Constitution, just obviously. Any federal gun control obviously is. So, violation of the Second Amendment and the 9th and the 10th. Because where the hell in the U.S. Constitution do you think the federal government has the power to tell you you can't have a piece of plastic which, when you hold it on the back of a semi-auto rifle, makes it so you can sort of make it slide and kind of behave as a fully auto thing, even though it isn't fully auto? Where does the federal government have that power? It doesn't, obviously. And the 9th and 10th Amendments, for those of you who care about the Constitution, which is not Trump, say if a power isn't specifically given to the feds by the Constitution, then it belongs to either the state governments or the people. So Trump doesn't give a shit about the Second Amendment or the 9th or the 10th, but, I mean, it's obvious the number of things he said that shows he doesn't care about due process or the right to privacy. I mean, take guns first, go through due process second. I mean, I could go down the list again of all the ways in which he doesn't give a crap about the Constitution, but I want to keep focused on this, because to those of you who think he's our great anti-establishment outsider, see if you have the intellectual honesty to pause long enough to ask yourself, why the hell did he do that? Why did he tell the lawyers, go change that definition? And he was saying, Obama legalized bump stocks. That was a horrible idea. So I'm going to make them illegal. Why? He doesn't even have the excuse of, well, there was some big crime wave, which is a BS excuse anyway, and what the leftists always do. Why would he do that? Like, if he's pretending to be for the people and against the political left and a friend of gun owners, why would he make several 100,000 of them into felons? Unilaterally, dictator style. Because that's what, with a stroke of a pen, he said, yeah, go change those regulations so that all those things that all those people own now count as machine guns, and you can be prosecuted and imprisoned for a long time if we catch you with that piece of plastic all by itself. Doesn't even matter if you have a gun to go with it. Just the bump stock. If you have that, we can now cage you for many years just because Trump said so. And then the Supreme Court just, I think today or yesterday, just threw that out as unconstitutional. So now you have this great fighter for America and gun rights and conservatism pushing the worst gun control in our lifetimes, because there's no grandfather clause. He was just making people into felons overnight. And hardly any of the supporters even ask why. And a number of them will do the cowardly thing. And I don't mean they're just arguing BS against their opponents. I mean, they're too goddamn cowardly to actually wonder inside their own head, why would he do that? Why did Trump just immediately stab in the back hundreds of thousands of law-abiding gun owners that he pretends to be on the side of? If he's in there being so busy fighting against the deep state and the corrupt Democrats, why does he immediately, unilaterally, dictator style, do exactly what the Democrats want? And now when the Supreme Court throws it out, the only ones on the Supreme Court complaining are three total leftists complaining that, no, we need to pretend the federal government has the right to do this because scary stuff, which I've talked about before. And I could run down a list of a ton of stuff that Trump's done, like appointing all the same warmongers and all the same bankers to all the same positions that matter while pretending he's against the establishment. But for this, I just want to focus on the bump stock thing. Why the hell would he do that? Why would he care about that at all? Why would he mention it? Is that in the top 1,000 concerns of the average American? Or the average conservative? Or the average rugged Trump supporter? Is that in your top 1,000 concerns? Banning bump stocks? No, it isn't. Nobody gave a crap. Why did he do it? Can you think of any explanation? Let me break it down to something easier. Do you actually think it was his idea? Do you actually think it was his concern? I am so concerned about bump stocks being used, well, pretty much never. But I'm going to push this because it's so important to the American people. Do you even think it was his idea? If you think it was his idea, you're an idiot. I don't know a nice way to say that. You're just a moron. What's the other option? He was being a puppet of the establishment. He went in, and the establishment's making deals with their puppets, the way they always do. You can speak out against that thing. We're going to have you pass this thing. We're going to have you go kiss the ass of the state of Israel. We're going to have you increase the bombing and the warmongering over here. We'll let you pretend to do this and badmouth that and play these games. You're definitely going to appoint all the same Federal Reserve and IMF bankers to all the positions that matter. You don't have a choice in that. Like, which he did. He faithfully did exactly the way Obama did, exactly the way every single president always does, because it's not their choice, and they know it. And Trump knew it. He's not this brave, rebellious, maverick crusader. He's a puppet of the machine, and that's why the bump stock thing happened. Now, that's also why several dozen other things happened, but just focus on that one thing. And if you're a Trump supporter, see if you can come up with an honest explanation for why the hell he did that. See if you can actually convince yourself that that was Trump's idea, that he thought that that was a priority that mattered, is criminalizing several 100,000 nonviolent Americans by the stroke of a pen, dictatorial style. Why would he do that? And this is the thing. It isn't just, like if it's a policy that, well, I could see why he thought this, but I'm more of in mind of like this approach. Like you can do that with politicians all over the place if you can try to hallucinate into existence an actual good intention behind their authoritarian BS, which most of the time is a joke anyway. But in this case, good luck. Do you think he forgot that the Second Amendment exists? He forgot that the 9th and 10th Amendment exists? He just kind of suddenly thought that that should be the priority? So, you're correct. The Clintons are so correct. He gets into power. They've been through so much. We're not going to do anything to them. By the way, I just made several 100,000 of you into felons overnight with a stroke of a pen. Gee whiz, it's almost like you put on a show and you're completely a puppet of the machine just like everybody else. And the list of things he did is bad enough. The list of things he didn't do, like all the people he could have pardoned and didn't, like, well, why not? All you have to do is go like that. It's one of the few things a president can do all by himself, is give presidential pardons for people in cages for victimless crimes. You could, like, Ross Ulbricht and Julian Assange and big long list of people who have been abused by the system that he could go, yeah, we're not doing that, we're letting him go. And he didn't. If you're that easy to fool, so that somebody can do something right in front of you for which there is no benign explanation, there is no explanation that makes any sense if he was actually pro-freedom, or actually pro-gun owner, or actually pro-Second Amendment, or actually pro-conservative. There is no explanation for why the hell that would have happened at all. And like I said, I could run down a list of 20 different things, and every single one, there is no anti-establishment explanation for why he did any of that, and yet he did them all. But I want to focus on just this one because I want to see if any Trump supporter in the comments below can explain any scenario in which they really and truly believe that Trump, who had just gotten into office, gotten the presidency, was like, one of my top priorities is going to be making several 100,000 Americans into felons overnight for possessing a piece of plastic. Really? I want you to describe what rationale, what pro-freedom, anti-establishment rationale you think there could possibly have been behind him doing that. I mean, I'll be surprised if anybody even has the the gall to pretend that that was Trump's idea at all, because it wasn't. He was a puppet. And he still is. It's the professional wrestling routine. Oh, those people totally hate him. No, they stinking don't. He was in there, remember? He didn't do any real harm to the system. Even the few things a president could do, he didn't. Could have declassified a bunch of stuff, said he was going to, didn't. Could have pardoned a bunch of people, didn't. Could have done executive orders actually limiting the enforcement of a bunch of BS federal laws. That he can actually do as commander-in-chief and head of the executive branch. Didn't. So why are you pretending he's anti-establishment? He was already there. He already had the chance. And when he specifically does things for which there is no benign explanation, what's your excuse for still pretending that he's some maverick fighting against the deep state? I'm fighting against the deep state, but just this once, I have to immediately do exactly what they want me to do. And I've seen Trump supporters basically make that argument. He's awesome. He's a super genius. He's playing 5D chess against the libtards. Why is he doing all these pro-establishment things and appointing all the... Well, they tricked him and they bullied him into it. Okay, so he's this all-powerful, ultimate alpha badass who caves in at the drop of a hat and does whatever the establishment wants. Okay, can you really in your own brain pretend that's the case? Like, if you're trying to convince anybody else, good luck. Can you even convince yourself of that shit? Or has wishful thinking so taken over your mind that he can stab you in the back right out in the open over and over again? Bump stock ban, the red flag thing, take guns first, go through due process second. It would be hysterical if it wasn't so sad. How the hell is anybody falling for this? Well, at least he's better than... No, he isn't. He is the other one. By the way, you know how he got Biden? By having Trump. Biden got elected because Trump was in there. And you know how we might get Trump? Because Biden. And you know how we might get the next Democrat? Because Trump again. And it'll go back and forth, and they will both do the bidding of the one ruling class while pretending to be against each other. And people are still falling for it. So I'll end on this, I don't know if you could call it a positive note. I actually think, because the thing that matters is the mentality of the people, I think there may be a positive to Trump winning. And I think it's pretty likely he's going to at this point, unless some weird thing happens, like somebody running a candidate who can complete an entire sentence. But there will be a positive, not because he's anything other than a slimeball puppet, but because all of the people who he kind of stabbed in the back the first time through, if he stabs them in the back even harder the second time through, maybe even some of the people gullible enough to fall for Trump's bullshit will finally become disillusioned enough to recognize that they've been played. You've been played by another actor, another puppet putting on a show who still kisses the ass of the ruling class. He wouldn't have been anywhere near that office if he didn't. And they're putting on this ridiculous spectacle in the hopes of making you think, well, this one really is different. He really is anti-establishment. The establishment really does hate him. Ugh. He was already there, remember? He was president for 4 years, remember? That already happened once. And he tore down the whole system. No, he didn't. Oh, well, he destroyed the Fed. No, he empowered a bunch of people from the IMF and the Federal Reserve banks, put them all in the positions again that they're always in, that every president always appoints them to. Well, he had no choice. I mean, how much are you going to play games inside your head to deny the reality that's staring you in the face? Trump has only ever cared about Trump, and he barely even pretends to do anything else. I care so much about Americans while I'm stabbing them in the back. And anyway, I'm going to refrain from running down the list of 20 things he did, including the inflation thing. Look what Biden did. Oh, these stimulus checks aren't big enough. We want much bigger handouts, much bigger socialist handouts, and I want my name on those checks. Look at this inflation that Biden caused. Are you that stupid? Are you that stinking stupid that the person you cheered for can do exactly what the guy after him does, push socialist handouts after their pushing of Operation Warp Speed and all that BS, destroyed the economy, and then they threw huge amounts of socialist handouts into the economy and made the inflation that we're still suffering from, made it 100% inevitable. And Trump did it first, and then it went right into Biden doing the same thing. They did the same thing. The only difference was Trump was out of office before the real damage hit, so a bunch of Trump supporters were too damn economically stupid to realize he did it first. So when you see their stickers of Biden on the gas pumps, Biden did that, I did that. No, you idiot. Biden and the person you voted for did that because both of them are puppets serving the same ruling class. And how many things do they have to do to stab you in the back until you stop just saying, oh, well, I didn't really agree with him on that, but look at what he did. No. If you can't even face it yourself that you're being stabbed in the back over and over again, you kind of deserve to be stabbed in the back. The thing is, lots of us who know better, who didn't support either stupid puppet, don't deserve to be stabbed in the back. Anybody supporting Trump, or Biden, obviously, is still stabbing in the back everybody else in the country. And if you try that hard to not recognize reality because your wishful thinking makes you refuse to see what it is you're supporting, that doesn't change the fact that you're part of the problem. You're supporting the machine. A vote for Trump is a vote for Biden. A vote for Biden is a vote for Trump. A vote for either one of them is a vote for the establishment, the two faces of the one ruling class. You're legitimizing that. You're empowering that. You're making it so all of us get stabbed in the back over and over again. And if you're imagining that, no, I'm fighting the deep state, good grief, don't be that gullible and stupid, please. Because you're getting stabbed in the back too. And you're getting everybody else stabbed in the back. Good grief. And if you don't even dare to look at what he's done long enough to go, why would he do that? If he's what he pretends to be, if he's anti-establishment, if he's actually an outsider, I'm going to take down the corrupt deep state. Why would he do that? If you can't ask yourself why he would do that, whether it's bump stock ban, socialist handouts, take guns first, go through due process, the huge list, increasing the bombing and droning. If you won't even ask yourself that, it's because you don't care what's true. You're just as much of a gullible, feels-driven idiot as all the people voting Democrat. You're the same thing. You're both voting for a puppet show, both of which empower the one ruling class. And if you're still too dumb to see it, don't pretend you give a crap about freedom, because you don't.